Welcome to the Sideline. I'm Andy Katz. Well, this is going to be a home for a lot of original content in college sports and beyond. Now, of course, you're going to get a lot of that similar content that I produce for NCAA platforms, Big Ten Network, and other places. But I needed a home for a lot of those interviews with the newsmakers in this space. So where are you going to find it? Right here at the Sideline. Let's get to it. And welcome, everyone, to another episode here. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Dusty May, the head coach of Michigan. And Dusty, let's first start with the NBA draft. Yet again, another Michigan player, this time coached by you and Danny Wolf, goes late in the first to Brooklyn. And I just love Danny's story. I loved watching the emotion with his family. He goes from a player who was not crazy recruited, wasn't used as much early at Yale, succeeds there, get to the NCAA tournament, they beat Auburn, gets to you, curveball, playing with Vlad Golden, and bam, he's a first-round draft pick. What do you think of the arc that Wolf has been on to get to this point?
Well, he's gradually improved probably the last 5 to 8 years of his career, and he's always been a hard worker. But when you watch his clips from high school or even junior high, they're pretty entertaining because he always had good ball skills and always had a unique game. And he obviously transformed his body after those eighth grade pictures or eighth grade videos that have surfaced. But I think a big part of his success story is simply being in the right situation, and I don't want to say system or anything like that, but playing with Vlad, they developed great chemistry together. And then our perimeter guys really embraced those guys creating offense and advantages. So I do think that he's gradually improved the last several years, but just the guys he was around, it was the perfect situation for him to show his skill set.
And one thing that he talked to me about during this process in the draft was that if there was that Achilles heel, he had some turnovers early, but not to be an excuse, but a little bit was sort of adjusting, I felt, from the outside to this sort of whole new setup. But what'd you think of how he was able to correct that sort of one Achilles?
We spent a lot of time, we struggled turning the ball over, much like we did early in our FAU days. And I've spent a lot of time this offseason studying why, what, where, when, what not. And it was a combination of a lot of things. I do think Danny essentially playing the point guard at times was new. I also think that the system was new for everyone. So there would be cutters that were open and they didn't realize Danny was going to throw them the ball. And so it would go out of bounds. And then there were a few careless ones as well. And so it wasn't as if you could fix one thing and we weren't trying to play whack-a-mole, so we were simply just trying to reduce them. But overall, most of them I think are correctable errors. He has the skill set and intelligence to fix them.
All right, so what do you think of your other two guys that you coached? One, you continue to coach in Vlad Golden. Doesn't get drafted in the second round, but I think as you go further in the second round, it's probably better to just go to a team that potentially could need you or want you. And then Elijah Martin, who helped you get to a Final Four at FAU, wins a national championship at Florida. He goes in the second round. What do you think of where they went and the fact that their chances of sticking?
I'll follow your lead with Vlad. I was disappointed just because he didn't hear his name called. I think that's every player's dream. But as soon as it wasn't called, then you immediately turn the page and focus on what you can control. And I can't imagine a better situation for Vlad to be in. The Miami Heat, they have Khalil Ware, they have Bam, they have Kevin Love. And so they don't have a lot of young developmental bigs. So I would think he would have an opportunity to go in and prove his worth there and develop in Miami or Sioux Falls, wherever it may be. He's gonna have his hard hat and lunch pail wherever he is. But I just think sometimes, a team and a player find the right match. And with Vlad's work ethic and his care for people and how good of a teammate he is, I think that he'll really be valued in that Heat culture.
And Elijah?
Elijah, man, super, super proud of Elijah. I was talking to him throughout the day yesterday. We had a good idea that there were two teams that were going to take him, so it was almost certain that he was going to go. He had a great pre-draft process. His ability to fly across the country, go to 5 to 6 workouts a week, and compete at the highest level. I mean, like his life is on the line is probably second to none. And he's like Danny. He's improved his basketball skills over the years. He's improved his knowledge of the game. But his competitive spirit, desire to destroy people is ultimately what sets him apart. His competitive nature is infectious in a locker room. He's such a great guy off the court. He's going to find a role wherever he is, and I think Toronto will really appreciate him as well.
So I don't think I've ever heard anyone say a negative word about you, which is very positive. Everyone just genuinely likes you, and they should. And what I love about this is that you've got players who you coached who then go in the portal. You go to a new job, and yet you continue the ties. How important is that for you personally that people you coach, and you may not finish coaching their careers, there's still that connection?
And I just think it's a lot easier for me being a student manager, someone that grew up taking the extremely hard route. I had no connections in coaching, so I don't ever. I at least try not to ever make it about me. So when a player leaves, I try to really look at it through his set of glasses and why and learn from every situation. If we have a player that left unhappy, I want to figure out why, what we could have done better. And sometimes it's just he needed a different situation, like we do as coaches. When one of the things that when I was going through the process to take the Michigan job, and my wife and I, and you haven't spoken with her, you could find someone to say a bad thing about Andy. It was just a certain point of our life where we were ready for a change. So I think players too sometimes. I transferred. I went to a Division II school and I transferred to Indiana. The transfer thing is not that terrible. Sometimes we just want a different situation. We want something new. And so just trying not to make it personal and really just trying to always pour into these guys and make it about them. But I enjoy following them. I enjoy just being a part of their journey. And that's what we sell in recruiting, that it's not a 4-year, 2-year, 1-year relationship. They really have us for life. And to be honest, that was my first instinct when Vlad didn't get drafted. I felt, I guess, remorse and started thinking of what I could have done better, what we could have done better to put him in position. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. We can't always control who likes us and chooses us, but we can control how we operate every day and our attitude.
All right, so let's spin forward. We've talked about off camera about this team upcoming, and you've just started to dabble a little bit with some practices. But this is now the second. I mean, this is a new world. Second year in a row, you're sort of having to reload a roster. Get there, you got to build one. You do have holdovers this time. Let's deal with the roster management of how you were able to put all these pieces, and you got a little lucky, obviously, with Yaxel deciding not to stay in the NBA draft, and sometimes you need some luck. How did this all come together where you've got a team that I think we all can say is going to be, potentially top 5 team next season?
To be honest, Andy, I'm going to give our staff and returning players a lot of credit. What gives me the most hope is how much better Namari Burnett, Roddy Gale, LJ Case, and those 3 guys, and Will Cheddar. They manage our locker room. They are the greatest human beings I've been around. And so obviously we were able to go into the portal and add some instant impact guys, but the returners have really and then Oscar Goodman was with us for a semester last year, who's going to be playing with New Zealand on the U19 team. So we're extremely deep. And if you watch the playoffs, the Pacers and the Thunder, probably their biggest competitive advantage other than their effort and their togetherness was simply depth. So we think we're extremely deep. We have a lot of different ways we can play. And then you said it with Yaxel, Adai, Merez, those guys coming out of the portal. And then Elliot Cadeau has been, we think it's a lot like Danny, where we just think that this situation at this time fits who he is and what we need. So we're very optimistic that all those guys are going to be able to contribute. And then we have a what we think is a dynamite freshman class with Trey McKinney and Winters Grady. And we signed a guy late out of Miami that we think is going to be a really good player in a couple years. So, we're we signed another big kid out of Germany, so we think we have a lot of pieces that can really help, and they're hardworking and they're great teammates, so that gives us hope.
So that front line, the headliners of Yaxel Landenberg, Merez Johnson, and Adai Mara, they are all different in different sizes and heights and strengths. But last season proved you can sort of put pieces together that maybe not everyone else can. What is it about those 3 and how you can play them together or complement each other that really could be beneficial next season?
I think it starts with they're all 3 extremely unselfish and they can all pass the ball. So it's not as if you're putting non-skilled bigs on the court. And Merez Johnson's been a real pleasant surprise with his effort and his rebounding and his ability to run the floor are impressive. But He's worked diligently on his jump shot at improving on dribble handoffs, becoming a better screener and playing off space. So we're optimistic that we can figure out a way to use those guys. We did it last year, more later than early with Will Cheddar, who had been a five under Coach Howard. We played him, Danny, and Vlad together in our biggest minutes in the Big Ten tournament, and it was successful. So we think it's a little bit overrated as long as guys are unselfish and they know how to play off of each other and they can pass and they're threats. Then we think we can find a way to get our best guys on the court for that particular game. But it's a new puzzle for us, but it's not as if it's brand new because Yaxel does handle it like Danny, and he passes it like Danny, and so he's got a little bit of plug and play in him, and then Merez being able to use him all over the court, and then Adai's ability to play out of off the elbows in a trail position and really be a trigger as a passer is exciting because I think we've got some good cutters and some good floor spacers as well.
So when you were a student manager in Indiana, it was just not a thing to transfer within the league. I mean, it was very rare. Now it happens all the time. I mean, you've got, if I'm not mistaken, you got three former Big Ten players. Is that right? Gale at Ohio State, Mara UCLA now, Johnson,
Right.
Illinois. If
Mhm.
I'm missing someone, let me know. Washington's roster is like USC's roster, like so they're plug and play from various spots. This is our world now, but what do you think? I went to Big Ten school, you went to this just didn't happen. What's it feel like to you go against one guy and then the next year he could be on your team?
Well, my memory's a little fuzzy, Andy. You might be able to help me, but I think it may have been Sam Okie there was a trip
Yes.
between Wisconsin and Iowa, and I
Yep.
believe he
And it
actually
got a
had
little
to
nasty.
it got nasty. I think he had to go as a walk. He had to attend the next school as a walk on because you couldn't transfer in league. And yeah, it was a battle, but that's common now. These leagues are so big. I mean, there's 18 teams in our league. I think between the SEC and Big Ten, we encompass most of the United States. But it's why would you want if a player off of our team decided to leave? I would have no issue him going in our league because I want as the draft showed, I think we had 8 first-round picks. We want the best players in the Big Ten. We want, it's our responsibility to put great products on the floor and compete at a high level. So to do that, you have to have the best talent pool in your conference. So it is unique, but also I know that when you look at who coached those guys before us, they've all been they have a great foundation, and so it's simply how they mesh in with how we do things.
The brand Michigan always sells, it draws ratings. Let's talk about the schedule. You got the Duke game in DC, dual, is it dual in the district, I think. So what do you got on tap for next season?
We've already announced we have Villanova coming in, and obviously Coach Willard's going to do a great job with them. We're at TCU. We have Wake Forest at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. We're in the Players Era tournament where the matchups haven't been announced, but we have two. We're playing two really great programs to begin with, and if we advance, and we'll play another one. So the schedule is it's exciting. We've got a couple of really unique exhibition games as well that will help prepare us for that schedule. And then you factor in how competitive the Big Ten is with Purdue returning two of the top guys in our league, really three with Lawyer, and how everyone reloaded and whatnot. And then obviously we're still chasing Michigan State. They won the league last year, so we've got to go through them. But it's going to be a tough conference race. But we're excited about our schedule. I think our fans should be pleased. I think it'll be great for television.
I also love the fact that, and I did the first and second round with Jalen Rose. He was a huge supporter. And I'll be honest, I think it was a fair wondering, okay, Juwan Howard, Fab Five, he's no longer the coach. You replace him. Is the Fab Five still going to be, attached to Michigan? And from my, 30,000-foot view, nothing seems to have changed. It seems like everyone's all in. How were you able to make sure that you've got the whole Michigan family on board? And John Beeline's grew too, by the way. He loves you guys. He's still involved.
Well, Coach, I'll start with Coach Beeline. He's become a real valuable resource for me and a mentor, and someone who did it before the portal era. He was able to build it gradually and build a championship program with NBA players and graduating almost all of his guys. But Juwan Howard, he had some misfortune, I would call it, where just some things didn't go right, and then he had the health issues. So it's not as if Juwan Howard can coach basketball. His first couple of years, they were as good as any team in the country. And He was National Coach of the Year. So some things happened. It didn't work out, but his love of Michigan is much, much deeper than that team or that current moment. And it's been like that across the board. The people that are associated with Michigan take a lot of pride in the brand and the Block M, and it's our responsibility to make all those guys proud with the way we compete and play. And so it's been fun. It's I knew the brand was huge, but it's been even bigger than I thought.
All right. Before I let you go, rapid fire and a couple things in the macro here. 32 games, not next season, the season after. What do you think?
I like it. The more the better.
Quarters or halves?
I'm a quarter guy.
Why?
I love FIBA basketball. It makes sense. When I become the czar of basketball, I think we're going to shorten half times and we're going to go 4 quarters. We'll figure out a way to to make up for the revenue shortages.
Advance the ball.
That one I'm really torn on, probably because I don't like it as a coach because that's the nostalgia in me, but I do think it's better for the game. It provides a more exciting finish, so that's good for everyone.
And one thing we know is definitely happening, the coach's challenge. How will that change next season, you're thinking?
I like it. Last year it became so subjective, and I think that the officials are going to, I hated the breaks in action as much as anyone. So I think just they're going to get some right, they're going to get some wrong, and we've got to roll with the punches. But I like having one challenge.
All right. Dusty, always great catching up with you. Try to relax a little bit this summer, but because you're going to have a great year next year. We can't wait to watch it.
Thanks a lot, Andy. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. And as always, you can follow all our social media content at the Sideline with a K. Our content appears on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, YouTube, TikTok, X, and Instagram. Check out all the content at the Sideline with a K.